Hey friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, and you're with Huck. Yeah, Huck is the executive producer for Huck TV, and she is being a really good girl. She's a very stoic dog, kind of just hangs out and watches all the time. But then when you start playing, she goes nutsoid. He's a good girl. And right here, between her eyes, she loves being scratched right there. Daddy, scratch me. Yeah, good girl. Hey. No, keep going, Dad. He's a good girl. He is a good puppy. Okay. Here we go. So today, I got a case that's pretty much ongoing, and I decided to show it early before there's final resolution, because there's a good chance that somebody in southern Canada, BC area, and northern Washington may see this gentleman, and I think it's important. Hardest part about doing this job is talking to family members of the missing. It's harder than anything else I've ever done. Yeah. Hey! I've got a whole crowd. I've got a whole crowd there. Ooh. Something. What's up? Whoa, something got her upset. What's up? Sit. What's up? You hear something? Here, come on. You go get him, okay? Go ahead. I have no idea what she's. So we've got some major thunder rolling through our area right now. So maybe that's got her jacked up a little bit. And Angie's in the next room, so who knows? Sometimes dogs go nuts and you have no idea why. The other night I was sitting in my room and she's looking down the hallway. It's about 11 o'clock at night. Angie's asleep. It's real quiet. She's looking down the hallway towards the kitchen. All of a sudden she jumps up and starts staring at the kitchen. And I always wonder, does she see something I don't see? You know, there are ghosts in this house? I have no idea. And then she'll start growling. Rrr. So I just bring her into my room, close the door so she doesn't, and then she calms right down. So, I don't know. Anyhow, we were talking about parents of the missing. Hardest thing I ever do is talk to them and relatives. And people usually don't know a lot about me when I talk to them, other than, ex-policeman, working missing persons cases, interested in that case. And I don't get into many more details. Unfortunately, a lot of people go to the Wikipedia page right away because they don't know that Wikipedia is worthless. And the Wikipedia founder said that it's far left-wing propaganda and to stay away from it. Those were his words, not mine. And he said you can't trust anything on Wikipedia. His words, not mine. So a lot of people go to that and then they all of a sudden get an opinion about me based just on that, which is unfortunate. But let's get right to this story. Has to do with a man named Robert Schock. Robert was 39 years old. He went missing August 1st, 2024. North Cascades National Park. Now, if you don't know much about North Cascades, right on the Canadian border, far northern Washington, one of the least visited parks of all national parks. In fact, they laid off a bunch of park rangers this year there, and simultaneously they decided to relocate grizzly bears into the park. Oh, a fine idea when you release rangers to patrol and to protect. Robert lived now in Ohio on some property that his dad owned. His prior addresses included California, Colorado, Arizona, Washington, North Carolina, and Florida. And in fact, at one point in his life, he lived not too far from North Cascades in a place called Mount Vernon, Washington. In preparation for this, I talked to his mom, a very, very nice lady who's going through some serious turmoil that I can appreciate. Now, Robert had attended Sinclair College, Clark State, and the University of Phoenix. I asked the mom what Robert considered himself, an IT entrepreneur. Those were her words. He hadn't worked lately, she said. She said that he was very physically strong and in the past had competed in several triathlons, Ironmans, and marathons. In my book, anybody that can compete in an Ironman and qualify is an unbelievable athlete. He drove a 2004 Buick LeSabre, and she last spoke to him on July 30th. Spoke on phone. He was living in Ohio at the time, but he told her that he was in Washington, which was a surprise to her. Like I said, he had lived there previously, but his mom said that he would take trips sometimes on the spur of the moment. That's what this appeared to be. When she asked him why he was there, he said he was given travel expense by a writer. I think that's what was said. It was kind of unclear exactly what he meant, but he didn't have a lot of money. So it was kind of questionable by the mom, questioning why he was going to Washington. Robert later had a conversation with his father, and he told him that he was in Washington on business. Kind of a different story. And nobody knew what the business reference was to. Robert was described as a super smart man, but somebody that didn't like working for others. He actually didn't like the United States, his mom said. He hadn't had a girlfriend for many years, and his closest companion was his dog, Freddie. Freddie was a chocolate lab, and they were constant companions. One thing that Robert always liked to do was to take Freddie on hikes. It didn't matter if it was in Ohio, where they were always out hiking together. That's kind of a good thing. They could look out for each other. Dogs are always good warning devices when you're on a trail. So that was all good. So again, July 30th, mom talks to Robert by phone. Finds out he's in Washington. Kind of unclear why, and not exactly sure where. Well, fast forward 5 days, August 4th. His mom gets contacted by the Whatcom County Sheriff's Humane Society. And she's notified that they had a chocolate lab that belonged to her son. The dog, which was Freddie, was found 8 miles from a trailhead into Cascade National Park on the Chilliwack River Trail. Wow. 8 miles in. That's quite a distance. And the dog was just walking down the trail. The dog was taken by a park ranger because it looked like it needed help and was turned over to the Humane Society. So first of all, to whoever was that employee or ranger for the Park Service that took that dog, kudos to you. Thanks for going out of your way to do that. That was a kind gesture. The mom said that the Humane Society described Freddie as thirsty and hungry, with hot spots on the body and sore paws. Now right away, I'm suspicious of that. Here's why. The dog's found on the trail next to a river. Freddie shouldn't have been thirsty at all. Hungry, I understand. Thirsty, I don't understand. Dehydrated, I don't understand. Because you're right next to a river and a creek. So the mom and the dad didn't know that Robert was going to go into the park. So this was all a big surprise to her. And the Humane Society asked what he wants to do with the dog. Well, what are you going to do? She lives in North Carolina. Father lives in Ohio. That's quite a distance. So they tried to figure this out. The following day, August 5th, Jan decided that it was time to call the Whatcom County Sheriff and declare her son a missing person. At about the same time, she gets told by the Whatcom County Sheriff that they found Robert's car at the same trailhead where they found Freddie, the dog. And they didn't find Freddie at the trailhead. They found him way down the trail. The car's at the trailhead. So that's pretty much confirmation that Robert, somewhere along that trail, disappeared. I would say so. Now, it was made to me perfectly clear, absolutely 100% clear, that Robert would never voluntarily give up that dog. Now, in my conversations with the mom, centered around what would he be doing on that trail, and she explained that there was a time in his life where he lived in Mount Vernon, not that far away, and he may have visited this place before, but she didn't know about it. She said that he loved to hike trails, so that wouldn't have been unusual. Well, the story gets even more confusing because the deputies reported to the mom that they found a window on his car halfway rolled down and Robert's wallet on the dashboard with his driver's license and credit cards inside. There was no money in the wallet. Well, the mom said that's not surprising there wasn't money because he hadn't been working in a while. It's a strange predicament if you really think about the situation up to this point right now, what you know. So he was an athlete. He was strong. He had the ability to get way back there if he wanted to. So the car was parked at what's called the Hannigan Pass trailhead. So this is Hannigan Pass trailhead. This is the U.S.-Canadian border. And right here is where the national park line for North Cascades National Park right here starts. Now, right about here, where the Hannigan Pass Trail stops, the Chilliwack River Trail starts. And then this follows the river, the Chilliwack River. This area in here gets very remote. Now, during the summer, yeah, there's a lot of people on this trail. But not many people go off trail here. It gets very wild there, very quick, with grizzly bears up there now. So, yeah, I'd be careful. So, here's what happens. You park the car at the Hannigan Pass trailhead. You hike that for 5 miles. And then that will take you to the Chilliwack River trailhead. And that's where the split occurs. And then the Chilliwack River Trail parallels the Chilliwack River. It's a beautiful walk. The Chilliwack River actually gets salmon in it. It's a beautiful place up there. And considering all the other national parks, this trail specifically is one of the easier ones to get to, so it may get more people. But in general, North Cascades, if you visit it, not a lot of people compared to like Yosemite, Glacier, Yellowstone. Now, to get into the backcountry where Robert was, if you're going to spend the night, you need a backcountry permit. And what is a backcountry permit? Well, you don't have to apply for it and get approved. All you do is you fill out a piece of paper, pay like $5, and then you drop it in a box at the trailhead. Now, people have come to me and they said, well, Dave, then did they go back and check and make sure everyone came out? No. 99% of the time, those things are never even read until the end of the year. And the only reasons they exist is to figure out the pressure in the backcountry by the number of backpackers that are going in. That's all it's used for. A lot of people think it's other things. It's not. It's kind of sad. Now, in this case, they knew Robert was back there somewhere because of Freddie. So Whatcom County knew where they had to search. In the area where Freddie was last seen would be a good start. So they started a search on August 7th, 2 days after his mom reported him missing. And then they did 2 more searches on the 15th and the 16th of August. It was reported by Whatcom County that rangers and deputies searched the river trail and a 1-mile radius off that trail on each side. They also searched the Hannigan Pass Trail on both sides, leading back to the car. Now, Whatcom County used a helicopter for one of their days, and then the U.S. Border Patrol also used one of their air surveillances one of their days. They found nothing. One of the things I asked the mom is I said, well, would Robert go off trail? She said she didn't know. She didn't know why he was there. She said when they talked by phone and every other time they've talked, he's never been suicidal. Now, Whatcom County pulled, with the assistance of the U.S. National Park Service, they pulled the backcountry permits that were submitted for the area where Robert had disappeared. And what they were looking for is people that said that they needed a permit for the dates that Robert was there. They ended up finding somebody who was back there, and they called him. The people said that they saw Robert on the trail with Freddie, and he had a day pack. That's it. They said he didn't appear that he was gonna spend the night back there. Now, my initial assessment of this is that it makes sense, kind of. He left his wallet at the car when it was half open. He only had a day pack. He was an athlete. Doing 16 miles round trip wouldn't have been a big deal. But then the mom told me that Freddie had a hip injury, and she couldn't imagine Robert taking him that far on the trail because of that injury. I agree. That's a little strange. But we don't really know. And then I asked the mom, I said, whatever happened to Freddie, the dog? She told me that Robert's sister is a speak language pathologist for a school in Ohio. She has a couple kids. And she also rescues animals. Well, when they heard about Freddie, her husband took the 2 kids on a cross-country road trip and drove back to Washington into Whatcom County and took Freddie with him. When they got home to Ohio, the sisters principal at the school had a dog, and they were looking for a second dog to kind of keep their first dog happy as a companion. So Freddie was introduced, and the dogs found friendship together. And so the word is Freddie's doing really good. Freddie's happy. Freddie's found a new home. Thank God. Thank God. It was a great job by the sister and the family to find Freddie a home. Thank you. You guys know I'm a dog lover, so that really means a lot. But what about Robert? Now, there have been times where search and rescue has taken the dog of the missing person back into the backcountry just to see what they would do. Obviously, they didn't do it on this instance. But that would have been a strategy I think I might have tried. Now, the mom said that Freddie and Robert were tight. Which begs to ask the question, what would cause them to separate? Right? What might have happened here? If Robert wouldn't have given up the dog voluntarily, and the dog has the love of Robert the same way, I have had dozens of stories that the owner is found deceased and the dog is still next to the owner and won't leave. I don't know. So I asked the mom if Whatcom County had deployed canines. And she said no, and she was a little confused about why they hadn't. She said that because the area is wide open, they didn't want to bring in a dog. What? I told her this. I said, that doesn't make any sense. Here's why. First of all, they know the exact location where Freddie was found. And that is your start point. They have a carload full of clothes, things that Robert owned because he lived in that car with Freddie. So there's all your scent materials. But at this point, Robert's been missing now for over 2 weeks. So you have to double this. I think I would put in scent sniffing canines, and I'd also bring in cadaver dogs. And I explained this to the mom. Cadaver odor can go for miles in a dog's. Dog can smell it miles away. I'm going to show you this. This is the only known picture out there of Robert and his dog. He has fairly long hair, beard, mustache. That's Freddie. Now Freddie isn't with him anymore, and Freddie's back in Ohio, so thank goodness. But that's Robert. Now, why Whatcom County wouldn't do this, I have no clue. The only thing I could think of is that the National Park Service wouldn't let him in. Now, you do know that it is against the law to bring a canine into a national park, like Robert did. Now, that's immaterial to the case at this point, but I just wanted to let you know, do not bring your dog on a trail in a national park. It's against the law. But I can cite hundreds of cases where scent-sniffing canines and cadaver dogs have been used in national parks to find people. So just because they're illegal for you and me, that means nothing. Now, what about using a drone? You see, drones can be highly effective because they can fly very close to the ground, say 100 feet, and cover a lot of territory. Then you have the footage reviewed by experts to see if they see anything that are suspicious. You can cover a lot more ground much more quickly with the drone. Another issue is that drones are illegal for you and me to use in a national park, but that doesn't mean law enforcement can't use drones. Now, is it possible that the National Park Service refused Whatcom County's use of drones? Sure. Just like they may have refused to allow the dogs in. But this is the part where the victim's family has really got to stand up to the National Park Service. You call your congressman where you live and you tell them, hey, my son, my relative, my brother is lost in that national park, and they're throwing up restrictions in front of us that make it very difficult to find him at this point. We need some intervention. We need help. And that congressman will help. And they have helped in the past, just so you know. So the canines are a big deal. And even the mom said she didn't understand why they weren't being used. And she said Robert was not suicidal and would never abandon Freddie. That's absolutely clear. One of the last things I asked the mom is I said, what do you think might have happened here? She said she really didn't have any ideas. But as with any parent, she didn't want to contemplate the worst, and I understand that. She also knew that this wasn't that far from Canada, and she thought, one part of her mind said maybe he went to Canada. But she said, I kind of discount that because he wouldn't abandon Freddie. Now, why would he go to Canada? He hated the United States. She said that he had been to Canada before, but he was booted out. And they told him that if he came back again, he'd be arrested and incarcerated. So, kind of hard to see him wanting to go back there as well. Plus, I explained to her that crossing that northern border is not as easy as people think. The Border Patrol has special sensors up there. I won't go into great detail, but they know when somebody crosses through that area, and they can get resources there very quickly. And if you're caught crossing in that manner, you're going to get incarcerated. So, Robert Schock. Let me say something. About 8 or 9 years ago, I was speaking on the East Coast somewhere. I don't even remember where. And I was speaking next to an archaeologist named Robert Schock. And when I heard this name, I thought, no, it can't be the same Robert Schock. It's not. But a very famous archaeologist that made a career out of studying the Sphinx. He's a fascinating man, also named Robert Schock. I should say that the number of times that I've had names crisscross like this, too many times to count. Now, I pray that the family and Robert find each other quickly. I want you, if you're in Washington or British Columbia, in that Chilliwack area, pay close attention. Beard, long hair, 5'10", muscular build. If you see him, Mom said he won't hurt anybody. Approach him and ask him. See if he needs assistance. Make sure he's okay. And lastly, tell him to call his family. It disturbs me greatly when sheriff's departments do not try hard to find somebody. I'm very disappointed that they aren't being transparent with the mom about why they're not using dogs. If it's because the Park Service is saying no dogs, then tell the parent that. Don't try to hide it. In the meantime, this is the kindness revolution. It costs nothing to be kind. It's not a big effort to be nice. Listening, we have 2 ears, 1 mouth. We should be listening twice as much as we're talking. Unless you're making a tape like me here. But really, be kind to people. We live in tough times now. And just a little bit of a smile. Hey, how you doing? Go a long ways these days. And you can still watch my 3 documentaries. Each documentary went to #1 in the world. Missing 411, Missing 411 The Hunted, Missing 411 The UFO Connection. They are all on Tubi right now. Watch for free. And you would do us a great service by spreading that link all around so a lot of people can watch it so they can get a better understanding of what we're doing. Hard to believe, but a lot of people still don't know what we're doing, don't know what our goals are, don't know what our profile points are. A brilliant young man, Robert Schock. Help out that family. Paulides out.